Hey everyone, this is my 36-week pregnancy update. So I'm just gonna kind of share a little bit about how I'm doing, how baby's doing, and some things that have been happening in our lives. Baby is the size of a head of romaine lettuce this week, according to one of my apps. So getting pretty big in my opinion, which is good. So we're getting really close. So I've been thinking back on my pregnancy, and I kind of realized this week that my main pregnancy craving has been frozen things. So like frappuccinos, ice cream, smoothies, frozen yogurt, just anything like frozen, especially things like blended frozen. I didn't really notice it earlier on, but now that it's like the dead of winter in Michigan, and I'm still craving those things, like every single day I want something frozen. It's definitely some sort of pregnancy craving. So I don't know what it is about that, but it's kind of inconvenient because I'm cold a lot of the time. So I'm like bundled up on the couch with like sweaters and blankets, eating like a smoothie or something, which feels kind of silly. But this is what I want. So there you go. So, nursery update. Travis has finished painting the nursery. The only thing left is he has to paint the trim. That is still pending. And then he is building, this is the next big project, building like a built in closet essentially in the closet. So it'll have like shelves with some hanging bars to hang clothes to, little like cubbies to kind of put stuff in. So he is building that. Feels kind of nuts to have projects like that happening a month out from baby being born or less, but we also don't really have much of a choice. This is where we're at. So we are kind of planning that out, mapping out the closet how we want it, and then he's gonna go get the materials and try to get that built here in the next week or two. We currently don't have any place to put baby's clothes and get that all organized. So until he finishes the closet, we can't really go through everything and get it all kind of hung up and organized. So that's the next big thing for the nursery. But I love having the paint in there. It makes it feel more like her space, our space. It just kind of fits us better. So obviously, when she's first born, she's not going to be in the well, not obviously. I mean, I know different people do things differently, but in our case, we are planning on putting her, we have her bassinet set up right there in our room. So that is where she will be for the first, however long, 6 months probably at least is our plan before she goes in the nursery to sleep anyway. But we will obviously need that space to get all of her stuff kind of situated and organized. So we need to get that project finished either way. So I had my 36-week appointment with my midwife this week. Everything seemed good. Had some like normal 36-week testing done, and they always measure like the size of my belly at these appointments. So she said this time that I was measuring a little bit small. Typically it's a centimeter. I think it's a centimeter. Can't be an inch, right? No. Must be a centimeter. So 30, I was measuring 33 centimeters, and 36 is the number of weeks along that I am, and typically it corresponds with the number of weeks you are in pregnancy. The kind of that measurement measured my belly, and it was a little bit smaller than they thought. So they're not really like, she wasn't worried about it. I have another ultrasound scheduled for next week anyway, because that was already booked due to some of the other, concerns, I guess, that they had, or not really concerns, but just wanting to monitor her growth, I guess, regardless. So they'll be able to get a lot clearer picture next week during the ultrasound, because those measurements are all kind of funky anyway. She said it depends, like, the size of your torso and how the baby is positioned, it can kind of mess with that measurement. So it's not always the most accurate anyway. The ultrasound is going to give a better, accurate picture of how big she is and if she's kind of on track of where they would be expecting her to be for growth and kind of tracking with how she has been growing. So we'll find out more next week. So the other exciting thing that happened is that we finally got squeezed into a birth class. Finally got that scheduled, which I was getting a little nervous. I'm like, okay, like I know I wanted to do a birth class of some sort. This is my first labor and I don't know what to expect. And I wouldn't say I'm nervous about it, but I thought that it would be helpful to me to kind of take a class, learn more about what to expect so that I can feel kind of more confident and prepared going into it. So we had a lot of trouble scheduling it with her. So, long story short, she offered to let us do a one-on-one class basically with her for the same price as the group rate. So that was kind of cool. So we now have 3 one-on-one sessions scheduled with her. They're 3 hours long each, so 9 hours total. She's a doula that works in Grand Rapids and also teaches birth classes. So I'm really excited to get those rolling. We've had one with her so far. It was virtual. We have another one today, and then the third one we have to get scheduled yet. But I'm just feeling like relieved to finally have that set up. And the info that we learned in the first one was really helpful. So I'm looking forward to the next 2 as well. I think it's going to be great and make me and hopefully Travis too feel kind of more confident going into this and just knowing what to expect and what we're getting ourselves into. So, the other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about more is my plans for labor and delivery. I'm going to preface this by saying that this is obviously a very personal choice. Everybody is going to have a different perspective on this. However, you as the laboring person want to give birth, I think is great. Go with your gut on what you want to do. So this is just me and how I kind of have thought about what I want my birth experience to be like, and just making plans from there based on that. So it's really been kind of interesting to. I've been reading a lot, right? I've been reading a lot of different kind of books, and then like I said, I had that birth class that just started. It's very interesting to read. One of the books was very adamant, very confident. Giving birth at home, this is just one example. Giving birth at home is dangerous. There is so much more risk involved. You would, be crazy to do it that way. 100%, nobody should give birth in their home. You should go to the hospital, or you're putting yourself and your baby at risk, right? So that's one perspective. And then literally the next day, I'm reading one of my other books that's like, giving birth at home is natural. It's, the safest place for you and baby. If you transfer to a hospital, you're just slowing your labor down and putting yourself at risk of unnecessary interventions. You'd be crazy to go give birth in the hospital. And that's like, again, 2 wildly different perspectives on what is the right way to give birth. And then we have our birth class with this doula, and she's saying, there are she's more in the middle. Again, there's a lot of different perspectives on it, and it makes it really interesting, but also confusing to try to do research and decide what is going to be right for you. Ultimately, I've been just trying to take in both sides and figure out what feels right and what I'm going to feel safest and most comfortable doing. I did consider a home birth, ultimately because it's my first and I don't know what to expect out of labor. That made me feel just nervous and uncomfortable doing it that way, especially at this point where we live. We're not super close to a hospital. It's not like, we're 5 minutes away where I could get there quickly if something did happen. And I just don't quite know how my labor is going to go anyway because I've never done it. So for me, it made sense to give birth in a hospital, personally, I plan to have an unmedicated labor and birth. Um, I want kind of as few interventions as possible, I guess. I'm not planning on having an epidural. I don't want to be induced. I want to go into labor naturally, if at all possible. I obviously don't want to have a C-section. There are just things that I would like to avoid, basically any kind of intervention from the hospital, including pain medication. And that's not necessarily, a common perspective, or it's not what everybody wants, and that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting an epidural, if that's a choice that, makes sense for you. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a C-section, and sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes there's something, an emergency that happens with you or the baby, and that becomes then the safest option, to have a C-section. So I'm not banking on this plan, I guess. Like, I understand that there's a lot of things that happen during labor. Ultimately, it's a lot of it is out of my control. I don't know what my body's going to do. I don't know how baby's going to be positioned at that time. I don't know like how everything is going to play out. I'm going to try my best to, like I said, have as natural of a process as possible. Birth is, in my mind, not a medical emergency. It's a physiological process, essentially. So now I'm also not ruling out the fact that if something changes, I may want to explore other options. There might be something that I need to do that I'm not anticipating at this moment because of something that comes up during my labor. Also, maybe I just changed my mind. I don't know. I could be at the hospital and reach a point where I'm like, nope, you know what? I think I do want an epidural. Like, that's for me. And I'm open to that. Like I said, I'm trying to set myself up for success with as many layers as possible, where again, this is my plan, and I am trying to prepare myself in as many ways as I can to make that plan be successful. If something does happen where I need to change that plan, I'm gonna roll with it, because what else are you gonna do? Like, this baby's coming out one way or the other. So if something changes and I need to change something also, that is just how it is, and that's fine. And I'm comfortable doing that. So that is my plan. That being said, with the goal of having an unmedicated labor and delivery, I have been trying to think of, ways that I can frame that in my mind to help. I think a lot of it is going to be mental preparation, right? And figuring out how to prepare myself for that, and how to think about kind of the pain that happens during childbirth, to frame it in a way that is constructive and useful to me. One way that I have been doing that, and that was something that I found kind of helpful throughout pregnancy too, is like affirmations. And I know it's a little bit hokey. Some people don't don't care for this kind of thing. So if this isn't your thing, feel free to tune out now. But just affirmations, like telling yourself things. And I'm not like staring at myself in the mirror, saying these things out loud to myself. Some people do that, and that's fine too, if that's your jam. But I sort of just try to come back to these thoughts, revisit them in my mind as much as I can, and try to just ingrain them in my brain. That is my goal. So one of the affirmations that she's not my doula, the doula that is doing our birth class, gave us to kind of work with is, I already have everything I need to grow and birth my baby. So that thought that, like, I am prepared, I'm inherently able to do this. My body is made to grow and birth this baby. And I feel like there's something in that is very inspiring. It's very motivational. It's very reassuring. So it makes me feel, safe in what's happening. And I try to remind myself of that, if I'm ever feeling like nervous or panicky during this pregnancy. And I think that's also going to be a good one for me during labor, that, hey, calm down. Like, you were built to do this. And it's fine. Your body already has everything that it needs to grow and birth this baby. You're enough. You're capable of doing this. Like, you got it. Just let it happen, kind of a thing. So trusting my body to do what it needs to do. So that's been a good one. Two that kind of go hand in hand that I am planning to use during labor and delivery. I accept the healthy pain of labor, understanding that, labor pain has a purpose. The contractions are literally doing things in my body to get the baby out. They have a purpose. They're functional. It's functional pain. It's not pain just for the sake of pain. It's not pain that you need to or should try to alleviate or fix, because it's doing something. It is helping me reach my goal of getting the baby from the inside of my body to the outside world. So just kind of reminding myself of that and leaning into that pain and accepting it and not kind of fighting against it. Letting my body flow with the pain, trusting that it is bringing me closer to where I want to be, which is having my baby in my arms safe. So I accept the healthy pain of labor, and then kind of going along with that, my body will not break, which I know is like, I don't know if that's as encouraging to other people as it is to me, or if it just sounds silly, but like thinking about this, unbearable pain of labor, which again, I've never experienced labor. I don't know what it's going to feel like, but just reminding myself to accept that pain, and then also that your body's not going to break. Like, there's not something wrong when you're having pain like that during labor. Normally, if you have pain like that, something's horribly wrong in your body and you want to fix whatever is broken right away. It's not natural or normal, but with labor, it's different. That pain, again, has a purpose. It has a function. It is a natural physiological process, and the pain has a purpose. And there's nothing actually physically broken or wrong in your body to be experiencing that pain. If anything, it's a good, helpful thing. And just remembering that, like, nothing is actually breaking. It might feel like your body is breaking, but it's not. My body will not break. To be experiencing this pain is just kind of how it is. And again, that acceptance mindset of like, this is what I need to accept and go through in order to, again, reach that goal of delivering my baby. And my body is helping me, and this pain is helping me do that and get there. So those are just some of the like affirmations and things that I keep trying to remind myself of now. And I'm trying to like mentally prep my brain for that process of giving birth. And those are what I'm going to be, I think, trying to revisit and coming back to mentally when I am in labor. So I'm getting really excited, guys. We're getting really close. I don't know if there will be necessarily another pregnancy update. There will be, might share some more things with the nursery or whatever. But this might be my last pregnancy update before the baby's here, depending on what else happens or how things go. I mean, she could literally come pretty much any time at this point. So the other big thing that we did for baby prep, we spent 6 hours last weekend in the kitchen meal prepping 16 like freezer meals to sit in our freezer until baby comes. So we are stocked up. These are we did some like chicken marinades. You can just pull out and either throw them in the oven and bake them, or throw them on the grill and grill them. So they're like marinating. And then the rest of them are all crock pot meals. So you just take it out of the freezer the day before, dump it in the crock pot the morning of, and let it do its thing in there, and then you have dinner ready. So that was a huge undertaking. Do not recommend doing that, 35 weeks pregnant ever again. So maybe take it in smaller chunks if you were a pregnant person trying to meal prep. I was so sore, like my feet and my back and everything just ached for like 2 days after that. It was like a workout just standing in the kitchen doing that all day. And mentally, I mean, Travis and I were like drained, which sounds silly, but meal prep is hard, guys, and it was 6 hours. That's a long time. So next time we do something like that, we will be taking it in smaller chunks and maybe doing like 4 meals at a time and then saving the rest for later, because you don't need to do 16 all at once, but it will be nice to have them done. I'm gonna go show you the freezer because it's very impressive and kind of exciting if you like meal prep and are into that kind of thing. Hold on, I'm gonna take you into the basement. So yeah, heading down to the basement. Freezer. Look at that. Look at that. Glorious. Pre-packaged, we have cheesy Mexican quinoa. We have butternut squash red lentil stew. We have some lemon ginger chicken marinating. We have a split pea soup. And there are many, many more down below there. I think there's like a bunch under here if I can get this up. Yeah, they just keep going. So basically, we are very well stocked and ready for this baby. I'm just kidding. We're not ready for this baby yet. But in this regard, our freezer is ready for this baby. So, nice.